Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Dr. Mahajabeen Maiman, an FCPS resident at the Liaquat University Hospital, LUMS, Jamshoro, working under the supervision of Professor Riaz Ahmed Raja. So today I'll be discussing about comparison of endoscopic tubular discectomy with open discectomy in the treatment of lumbar disc herniation. Now, lumbosacral radiculopathy has an estimated 3 to 5% lifetime prevalence, and it's most often caused by lumbar disc herniation. It can be treated either by open technique or minimal invasive technique. Some studies suggest that the minimal invasive technique has superiority over the open, while others do not. And they say that there is no statistically significant difference. Now, the history of lumbar discectomy dates back to 1934 when Mixter and Barr performed the first successful open procedure. The conventional microdiscectomy was introduced by Kasper and Yesergil in 1960s, and it is still considered as the gold standard treatment because of its satisfactory outcomes in the long run. Then came the era of minimal invasive spine surgery, and in 1997, the muscle splitting tube-based approach was introduced, and tubular discectomy was done by Smith and Foley, which involves insertion of progressive dilators to gain access to the disc. Now, this is a huge debate that which technique is better, endoscopic or open. Some studies suggest that both have similar outcomes, whereas others suggest that endoscopic is superior in a way that it allows for rapid recovery, it has a smaller incision, it has less post-operative pain, shorter hospital stay, and earlier return to work. That is, it can be done as a daycare surgery. Whereas it has been seen that endoscopy can have best outcomes in the short term, but in long term, there is no statistically significant difference between endoscopic and open. Our study was a comparative cross-sectional study at our department, which was conducted for 6 months in the year 2020. The objective was to compare the endoscopic tubular discectomy with open discectomy in terms of complications and outcomes. The target sample size was 40, but due to COVID situation, we only could include 20 patients who met the following inclusion criteria. Number first, they had the typical low back pain with unilateral radiculopathy, and it was for more than 6 weeks. Number two was MRI findings of prolapsed intervertebral disc which were consistent with the radiculopathy. And the third was failure of conservative therapy for more than 6 weeks. Patients were randomly divided into 2 groups. Group 1 were treated by endoscopic discectomy with the EasyGo system, and Group 2 by open discectomy. A questionnaire of visual analog scale and Oswestry Disability Index were filled pre- and post-operatively, and also post-operatively, the modified McNabb criteria was assessed on immediate post-op, first post-op, and 1 month follow-up. This is the EasyGo technique which we used. Now, it's a very small incision which is given around 1 to 1.5 centimeters. Then progressive dilators are inserted till we achieve the required dilatation. Now, this is our department. It's Dr. Riaz Ahmed Raja and me inserting the dilators to progressively enlarge that incision. Now, once dilators are inserted, we insert the trocar and the working channel and connect it with the holder, the camera, and the endoscope. Now, these are some videos which show, this is what we see when we enter into the endoscope. Sabse pehle, there are some muscles and there is fat tissue which is removed with Carrison punch and forceps. Once we are done with it, we have sorry, there was this previous slide. Yeah, once we are done with it, we use this drill, the high-speed drill, and do the drilling of the lamina. After drilling the lamina, we have this ligamentum flavum, which we partially dissect out, again with the Kerrison punch. And then finally, the most important part where we remove the herniated disc. So in our study, the male to female ratio was 40 to 60%. There are 60% female, 60% male and 40% female. The most common level was L5S1, 14 patients, and the second most common was L4-5, 6 patients. The visual analog scale was in both endoscopic and open techniques. It was preoperatively 0 to 3. And we can see that in endoscopy, the visual analog scale was significantly improved to around 0 to 3. From 7 to 9, it improved to 0 to 3 with a 2 average. And in conventional, that is in open, it improved to around 2 to 5. It's making an average of 4. The ODI score in both of the cases preoperatively was around 21 to 80%. In endoscopic, it improved to 0 to 20%. That is, the patient had only minimal disability or even no symptoms. And in conventional, it improved to 0 to 40% with patients having minimal to moderate disability. The modified McNabb criteria showed excellent and good outcomes in cases of endoscopic discectomy, whereas good and fair outcomes in cases of conventional endoscopy. The complications were, because our sample size was small, at that time we couldn't document any significant complications in endoscopy. There was only one case of unintended durotomy and CSF leak in open procedure, and wound infection of one case in open procedure. Otherwise, there were no such cases reported in endoscopy. The other results are obviously the similar as we saw in the literature. That is, the endoscopic surgery can be done as a day case surgery and the patients can be discharged by the evening or first post-op day, whereas the average conventional open discectomy patients are discharged at 2 or second or third post-op day. The incision length was 1 to 1.2 centimeters compared with 3 to 4 centimeters in open cases. Visualization was limited in endoscopy, but obviously it was in HT quality, whereas visualization is better in open cases. The surgical time, as because endoscopy is a slightly time-taking procedure because we have very limited visualization, so it was an average around 60 to 90 minutes. And the surgical time of open was bit earlier because it's with good visualization around an average of 45 minutes. The average blood loss obviously is more in the open technique, around 50 cc on average, and it is very less or negligible in endoscopic technique. So these are few studies. I won't take long, but I just want to say that there are some studies. It's still an equivocal outcome. Yes, sir, half a minute. It's still an equivocal outcome. Some say that endoscopy is superior in terms of short-term outcomes, and some say that the open technique is better. Nonetheless, there is not such a significant study conducted up till now which suggests the superiority of one technique over the other. So obviously the strengths of our study was that it is performed free of cost in our setting where there is a dire need of such advanced techniques for the poor population of our country, of our Sindh especially. And this is the first study of its kind in our hospital, which will guide us to our future of minimal invasive spine surgery. Limitations, obviously the study design, cross-sectional, comparative cross-sectional study, and the sample size are the main limitations of our study. And a lot of patients lost to follow-up, so that is also a limitation of our study. Concluding, it's concluded that overall endoscopic discectomy is superior to open discectomy in terms of smaller incision, shorter hospital stay, and minimal blood loss, along with better improvement in VAS and ODI postoperatively and early return to work. The only benefits of open discectomy is better visualization, lesser post-op time, and better handling during surgery. But obviously, this needs further strong evidence in future studies. Thank you.